My first thought was, he lied in every word. That hoary cripple with malicious eye askins to watch the working of his lie on mine and mouth scarce be able to afford suppression of the glee that perched and scorned its edge at one more victim gained thereby. What else should he be set for with his staff? What save to waylay with his lies and snare all travellers who might find him posted there, and ask the road? I guessed what skull-like laugh would break, what crutched gin write my epitaph for pastime in the dusty thoroughfare. If at his counsel I should turn aside into that ominous tract which, all agree, hides the dark tower, yet acquiescently I did turn as he pointed, neither pride nor hope rekindling at the end descried, so much as gladness that some end might be. For what with my whole wide world wandering, what with my search drawn out through years, my hope dwindled into a ghost not fit to cope with that obstreperous joy success would bring. I hardly tried now to rebuke the spring my heart made, finding failure in its scope. As when a sick man very near to death seems dead indeed, and feels begin and end the tears, and takes the farewell of each friend, and hears one bid the other go, draw breath freelier outside, since all is o'er, he saith, and the blown fallen no grieving can amend. While some discuss if near the other graves be room enough for this, and when a day suits best for carrying the corpse away, with care about the banners, scarves, and staves. And still the man hears all, and only craves he may not shame such tender love and stay. Thus I had so long suffered in this quest, heard failure prophesied so oft be writ, so many times among the band to wit, the knights who the dark tower's search addressed, their steps, that just to fail as they seemed best, and all the doubt was now, should I be fit? So quiet as despair I turned from him, that hateful cripple, out of his highway into the path appointed. All the day had been a dreary one at best, and dim was settling to its close, yet shot one grim, red leer to see the plain catch its astray. For mark, no sooner was I fairly found, pledged to the plain after a pace or two, than, pausing to throw backward a last view o'er the safe road, it was gone, grey plain all around, nothing but plain to the horizon's bound. I might go on, naught else remained to do. So on I went. I think I never saw such starved, ignoble nature, nothing thrive. For flowers as well expect a cedar grove, but cockle, spurge, according to their law, might propagate their kind with none to awe. You'd think a burr had been a treasure trove. No, penury, inertness, and grimace, in the strange sort, were the land's portion. See or shut your eyes, said nature peevishly. It's nothing skills, I cannot help my case. It is the last judgment's fire, must cure this place, calcine its clods, and set my prisoners free. If there pushed any ragged thistle stalk above its mates, the head was chopped, the bends were jealous else. What made those holes and rents in the dock's harsh swarth, leaves bruised as to bulk all hope of greenness? It is a brute must walk, pashing their life out with a brute's intent. As for the grass, it grew as scant as hair in leprosy. Thin dry blades pricked the mud, which underneath looked kneaded up with blood. One stiff blind horse, his every bone a stare, stood stupefied. However he came there, thrust out past service from the devil's stud. Alive? He might be dead for aught I know, with that red gaunt and collop-necked strain, and shut eyes underneath the rusty mane. Seldom went such grotesqueness with such woe. I never saw a brute I hated so. He must be wicked to deserve such pain. I shut my eyes and turned them on my heart. As a man calls for wine before he fights, I asked one draught of earlier, happier sights. Play my part. Think first, fight afterwards, the soldier's art. One taste of the old time sets all to rights. Not it, I fancied Cuthbert's reddening face beneath its garniture of curly gold. Dear fellow, till I almost felt him fold an arm in mine to fix me to the place. that way he'd used. Alas, one night's disgrace outwent my heart's new fire and left it cold. Giles, then, the soul of honor, there he stands, frank as 10 years ago when knighted first. What honest man should dare, he said, he durst. Good, but the scene shifts. Faugh! What hangman hangs pinned to his breast a parchment, his own bands? Read it, poor traitor, spit upon and cursed. Better this present than a past like that. Back therefore to my darkening path again. No sound, no sight, as far as eye could strain. Will the night send a howlet of a bat? I asked, when something on the dismal flat came to arrest my thoughts and change their train. A sudden little river crossed my path, as unexpected as a serpent comes, no sluggish tide congenial to the glooms. This, as it frothed by, might have been a bath, for the fiend's glowing hoof, to see the wrath of its black eddy bespate with flakes and spumes. So pretty yet so spiteful, all along, low scrubby alders kneeled down over it, drenched willows flung them headlong in a fit of mute despair, a suicidal throng. The river which had done them all wrong, whatever that was, rolled by, debtored no whit. Which while I forded, good saints, how I'd feared to set my foot upon a dead man's cheek, each stepper feel the spear I thrust to seek, for hollows tangled in his hair or beard. It may have been a water rat I speared, but it sounded like a baby's shriek. Now for a better country, vain presage. Who were the strugglers? What war did they wage? Whose savage trampled thus could pad the dank soil to a plash? Toads in a poisoned tank, or wild cats in a hot red iron cage? The fight must so have seemed in that fell cirque, what penned them there, with all the plain to choose. No footprint leading to that horrid muse, none out of it. Mad brewage set to work, their brains no doubt like galley slaves. The Turk pits for his pastime Christians against Jews. And more than that, a furlong on, why there use was that engine for, that wheel, or brake not wheel, that harrow fit to reel men's bodies out like silk, with all the air of Tophet's tool, on earth left unaware, or brought to sharpen its rusty teeth of steel. Then came a bit of stubbled ground, once a wood, next a marsh, it would seem, and now mere earth, desperate and done with. So a fool finds mirth, makes a thing, and then mars it, till his mood changes, and off he goes within a road. Bog, clay, and stubble, sand, and stark black dearth. Now blotches rankling, colored gray and grim. Now patches where some leanness of the soil broke into moss or substances like thus. Then came some placed oak, a cleft in him, like a distorted mouth that splits its rim, gaping at death, and dies while it recoils. And just as far as ever from the end, not in the distance, but at the evening not to point my footstep further, and the thought, a great black bird, Apollyon bosom friend, sailed past, nor beat his wide-winged dragon penned, that brushed my cap, perchance the guide I sought. For looking up, aware I somehow grew, spite of the dusk the plain had given place, all round to mountains, with such name to grace, mere ugly heights and heaps, now stolen in view. How thus they had surprised me, solve it you. How to get from them was no clearer case. Yet half I seemed to recognize some trick of mischief happened to me, God knows when. In a bad perhaps. Here ended then progress this way, when in the very nick of giving up one time more came a click, as when a trap shuts, you're inside the den. Burningly it came on me all at once. This was the place. Those two hills on the right, couched like two bulls locked horn in fight, while to the left a tall scapped mountain, dunce, dotard, and a dozing, the very nonce, after a life-spent training for the sight. What in the midst lay but the tower itself, the round squat turret, blind as the fool's heart, built of brownstone without a counterpart in the whole world, tempest-mocking elf, points to the shipman, thus the unseen shelf, he strikes on, only when the timbers start. Not see, because of night perhaps? Why, day came back again for that, before it left. The dying sunset kindled through a cleft. The hills, like giant at a hunting, lay, chin upon hand, to see the game at bay. Now stab and end the creature to the heft. Not here? When noise was everywhere, it told increasingly like a bell, names in my ears of all the lost adventures my peers. How such a one was strong, and such was bold, and such was fortunate, yet each of old lost. One moment knelled the woe of years. There they stood, ranged along the hillsides, met to view the last of me, a living frame for one more picture. In a sheet of flame I saw them, and I knew them all. And yet, dauntless, the slug horn to my lips I set, and blew, Childe Roland to the dark tower came.